What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 121st episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. In politics, showing up is important. It doesn't matter if it is something little like a political rally, or if it is something huge like a train going off the rails and spilling toxic chemicals into the air. Whenever there is a natural disaster or something terrible happens to a group of people, the people want the president of the country to show up. Can Joe Biden going down to East Palestine, Ohio, get rid of all those toxic chemicals? No, he can't. But him going there would show the community that he cares about the people. It reminds me of a time in the past, 1927 to be exact, as there was a huge flood in Mississippi. The president at the time was Calvin Coolidge. He decided that he didn't want to go down to assess the situation in Mississippi. He thought that the Red Cross and private corporations could fix this problem on their own. He was a small government kind of guy and didn't like to spend a lot of money. So instead of him showing up, he decided to send down his Secretary of Commerce, Herbert Hoover. Yes, that Herbert Hoover. He tried his best to fix the situation, but the people wanted their president to show up and tried to assure them that everything was going to be okay and tell the people that he cared about them. The outrage from the people from Mississippi was huge, as people begged him to come down to Mississippi, but he still said no. Later on, he made a speech about the situation, and he sent federal aid, which was needed to help the people, but I bet Calvin Coolidge hated that. However, this situation could have been a lot worse politically for Calvin Coolidge. What if there was a situation where this flood happened, and before Herbert Hoover went to Mississippi, a Democrat like FDR showed up in Mississippi with pallets of food and water for the people. He hugged people and told them that they are true Americans. Then at the end of the day, he bought them all McDonald's. This would be a good thing for that politician to do. It would get their name in the papers. It would give them a photo opportunity because the person decided to show up. Now in our modern day, a situation like that is actually happening right now in East Palestine, as the Biden administration keeps on ignoring the people. So Donald Trump decided to board his own plane and head over to East Palestine and show up. Now, Trump didn't show up empty-handed. No. As Trump showed up with 13 pallets of food and water. Now, the EPA has claimed that the water is safe to drink in East Palestine, but some people are still very concerned that the government is lying to them or that the water could make them even more sick than they already are. Now, this wasn't some crappy pallet of Dasani water that breaks once you put a jack under it. This was quality-grade Trump water. Honestly, this was the most Trumpian thing that Trump could do. As when Trump was talking about the water, he was like, "We got Trump water is great and you better get it quickly." Just take a look at this video.
I do want to especially thank some of the incredible people that helped us, because we're bringing thousands of bottles of water, Trump water actually, most of it. Some of it we had to go to a much lesser quality water. You want to get those Trump bottles, I think, more than anybody else. But we're bringing a lot of water, thousands of bottles, and we have it in trucks, and we brought some on my plane today.
Now, for whatever reason, I've always loved the way that Donald Trump has said, "water." It is honestly one of my favorite things about Donald Trump. Along with that, Trump is very close with the manager of Goya Beans, so he had them send in a pallet of beans for the people on the ground. So Donald Trump went down there with his own money and gave people Trump water and beans, and people are now making fun of him, as people have claimed that Trump water is toxic and it'll make you want to invade the Capitol, as well as making fun of him for sending beans, which I don't know why, because what Trump gave was a lot better than what Joe Biden gave. Here's a picture, side by side. Oh wait, that's right, Joe Biden didn't send anything. Now the day for Donald Trump wasn't over in East Palestine yet, as all that walking around and talking to the average people made Trump a little bit hungry. So he, along with a whole group of people, crammed into a local McDonald's and ordered a wide range of Big Macs for the first responders that were around him and also for everyone in the restaurant. Trump also claimed that he knew the menu better than the workers, which was funny, and it showed the human side of Donald Trump. Here's a little video of that.
Special day today.
How are you today? Nice to meet you.
Hello, everybody. That's a nice, beautiful looking group of people. So I know this menu better than you do, okay? I probably know it better than anybody in here. We're going to take care of the fire department.
Okay.
We're going to take care of the police department. And what we do is all the people that are eating right
I'm the
now.
owner, Mr. President.
So
How are you?
I don't have to give him.
That's right.
That's a good one to own, right?
Yes, it is. One of the best.
So we're going to take care of your fire police.
To me, it just seems wholesome and a good thing for a person that is rich and also in politics to do. Of course, he also had to be political as well, as Trump made sure to point out to these people that Joe Biden has betrayed them. As Donald Trump claimed, Biden and FEMA said they would not send federal aid to the town under any circumstance. We opened up the dam and we got them to move. Which is 100% true, as FEMA claimed that East Palestine, Ohio didn't meet their criteria until there was so much outrage. Because, like I said last week, the Joe Biden administration doesn't react until they are pressured into doing it. Now, was this a photo op? Yes, it was 100% a photo op. But this is what the people want, and this is what politicians have been doing for years. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, people were ticked off that Calvin Coolidge didn't visit them. Kanye West claimed that Bush didn't care about black people because he didn't visit Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina. Being there is sort of an unwritten rule in politics. It shows that you care for the people. So after Trump made his visit, it was reported that Mayor Pete Buttigieg was going to go down to East Palestine after Trump made his visit. Definitely not because of Trump went down, but definitely to bring action and peace and strength, and it wasn't going to be a photo op, and it was not about Trump. Quit saying that.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Well, this visit was kind of a photo op, and it was also kind of because Donald Trump went down there. And we all know that, and it's okay, because photo ops are a part of politics. But I wonder if he or anyone else in the Joe Biden administration would have shown up if Donald Trump didn't go down there first. And that right there shows how much the Joe Biden administration cares about the people of East Palestine. But I will say that even though Pete Buttigieg was pressured into going to East Palestine, I am glad that he showed up. As the former mayor even admitted that he should have spoken up about this situation further. As he said, again, I was taking pains to respect the role that I have, the role that I don't have. But that should not have stopped me from weighing in about how I felt about what was happening. So Pete Buttigieg was scared that him saying stuff would cause the people on the ground to not be able to do their job properly, which is very strange. Like, is him talking about the race of the people working on construction a part of his job? Because he wasn't scared to point that out. And then as Mayor Pete was surveying the damage, he stated to the media that he and the Joe Biden administration have been there since day one. This is the easy Joe Biden administration cop-out of not taking their job seriously. Kamala Harris has done this so many times, claiming that we have been to the border. We are at the border 100%. Here is that interview with her and Lester Holt.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
Lester Holt is right in that situation. The government may be at the border, but you, the person that represents the government, wasn't there. And that's what the people want. They want the representative there. This is the same situation with Buttigieg. There may be government officials on the ground in East Palestine, but the people wanted the people in the government to come to Ohio. They wanted Joe Biden, but all they got was Pete Buttigieg looking like Bob the Builder. Then, of course, just like how Donald Trump had his little speech, Pete Buttigieg also had a speech of his own, but they have nothing to do with each other. Pete Buttigieg did not go down to Ohio because of Donald Trump. But anyway, in that speech, Pete Buttigieg talked about all the things that he wants to do to help prevent a situation like this from happening again, which is a good thing, but he kind of made a goof. Just listen to this.
Information and misinformation injected into this situation, none of which is to the benefit of the community when it comes to that misinformation.
Did Norfolk or
So I lost my train of thought.
Well, that seems a little bit inappropriate to say after a train just derailed. Oops. And then, of course, Mayor Pete attacked Donald Trump for coming to East Palestine as a photo op and for also cutting different train regulations. As Pete Buttigieg said, we're not afraid to own our policies when it comes to raising the bar on regulation. And then he claimed that Trump should support Joe Biden's idea to increase different regulations when it comes to trains. And now, once again, the media has still been playing this game, blaming Donald Trump for the disaster in East Palestine, which I know I talked about last week, but it still keeps on coming up. So I will talk about it again. Donald Trump got rid of those regulations in 2017. And from then till 2023, there have been no train derailments that have released toxic chemicals into the sky. And Joe Biden could have changed these different regulations in the $2 billion infrastructure bill. However, the Democrats had a different idea of what infrastructure was. It wasn't the railroad tracks or increasing different regulations. Instead, infrastructure was climate action, affordable housing, and police accountability. Then, there were Democrats that claimed that paid leave, childcare, and caregiving were all infrastructure. None of those things were infrastructure at all, and that's why Republicans didn't vote for the infrastructure bill. Not because they didn't care about the train tracks or the roads and the bridges in America, but because the Democrats didn't care about the roads and the bridges and the train tracks around the country. Because they would rather claim that everything is infrastructure and just get money. It is a stupid argument because everyone knows that when Joe Biden came into office, he got rid of so many things that Trump did through executive order. And he could have done the same exact thing with these different regulations. He could have put them all back into place. Along with that, Donald Trump has been out of office for almost 2 years. Don't blame him for Biden's incompetence. So anyway, Pete Buttigieg's journey in East Palestine ended with him running away from the media as journalists hammered him with such very tough questions as, why did it take an entire 2.5 weeks to actually get here to respond to East Palestine? And will you apologize to the residents of this city for the slow response? Man, those are heavy-hitting questions. Of course, Mayor Pete ignored these questions, which according to the left is a direct assault on our democracy. I thought we were supposed to respect the freedom of the press. Anyway, as Pete walked away, his press person decided to answer the questions, but with the cameras off, which is weird, like, why is she so scared of the camera? However, there was one question that this reporter didn't ask. Where is Joe Biden in all of this? Well, Joe Biden was on a super top secret mission to Ukraine ahead of the 1-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. This trip was super secret, and the only people that knew about this trip was Joe Biden's cabinet and also the Russians, as the intelligence agency had to contact Russia because it would be a terrible situation for Russia to detect Air Force One in the sky, and then the Russians pull a Biden with a Chinese spy balloon and shoot it down. Then we have a huge escalation where the American people start blaming Russia for killing our president, and then we have World War III. So I do believe that it was smart to contact the Russians. Because of that, we are very lucky that that situation didn't happen. However, there was something very interesting that did take place during Joe Biden's visit. As while he and Zelensky were walking the streets of Kyiv, there were sirens going off that usually only go off when a missile is coming. As we all know, this is a war zone, so you would think that once these sirens went off, both presidents would be rushed to a bunker, because the last thing that we want is for either president to get blown up by a missile. However, the media and the presidents just kept on walking like it was no big deal. Here's the video of that happening. No one is looking into the sky to see if there is an airplane that may be striking them. And also knowing that Joe Biden told Russia that he was going to be in Ukraine, I don't think that they would be sending a missile into Ukraine while the President of the United States was walking around in Ukraine. So we know that Russia probably wouldn't have sent a missile. So who would have sent a missile? Well, no one. As I and many other people believe that this situation was staged by both Zelensky and Joe Biden to look tough. Wow, instead of running away into a bunker, both Joe Biden and Zelensky were strong and walked through danger. But in fact, it was
Made up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened.
Now, this doesn't take away from the danger of this meeting. As I said before, the intelligence department had to call up Russia to make sure that they didn't blow his plane out of the sky. But there is no way that these sirens were real, as even CNN mentioned that they hadn't heard sirens in weeks until Joe Biden showed up. Take a listen to this.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv.
However, the media keeps on claiming that people that don't believe the sirens were real are just a bunch of far right-wing losers that are trying to ignore the risk on Joe Biden. Yes, this mission was risky, but it was risky even without the sirens blaring off while there were no missiles flying in the sky. It almost makes you look weak that you had to make up this little scenario. And there's also more evidence that these sirens were fake, as Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen also went to Ukraine and the same exact thing happened, as sirens went off when she arrived.
Coincidence? I think not!
The rest of the trip for Joe Biden wasn't as eventful as sirens blaring, but Joe Biden made sure to talk about how he and the United States people stand with Ukraine, as he claimed, Putin's war of conquest is failing. Putin thought Ukraine was weak and the West was divided. He thought he could outlast us. I don't think he's thinking that right now. Along with that, Joe Biden mentioned that 1 year later, the evidence is right here in this room. We stand here together. We're not leaving. And he also mentioned that 1 year later, Kyiv stands, Ukraine stands, and democracy stands, which is a fantastic reminder that we should all support Ukraine in this war, and Russia should be pushed back. But there was one more thing that Ukraine wanted, and that was money. As I will say once again that I support Ukraine, and I want them to win this war, but I'm just a little bit sick and tired of the US spending so much money in this war, when there are situations back at home that also need money. As Joe Biden made clear that the United States will give a $500 million of taxpayer money to Ukraine, which adds to the already billions of dollars we are sending to Ukraine. Yes, this is for a good cause, as we want Ukraine to thrive, but I wish that Joe Biden could also go to East Palestine, Ohio, and do the exact same thing. It almost seems like when a president wants to spend money on the American community, it has to go through the House and has to go through the Senate. But when it comes to Ukraine, we can just send blank checks for billions of dollars. We, as Americans, pay tax dollars so the government can help us, not other countries overseas. I believe that the government should prioritize the people of their own country first, and then other countries second, because it is our hard-earned money that is going overseas, especially when we have situations that happened like in East Palestine. You can see how the people of East Palestine have felt betrayed by the Joe Biden administration. He ignored the people of East Palestine and runs off to Ukraine. And honestly, all of this could have been avoided by Joe Biden because Joe Biden knew when his Ukraine trip was going to happen. He could have gone before his trip and gone down to East Palestine and told all the people that he was caring about them and he was going to get the government to help them. He could have gone to East Palestine after his trip to Ukraine. He could have flown himself down there and claimed to the people that he was going to come down, but he didn't because he had a very important mission to Ukraine. But now he's here, and he is here to help the people, and he cares about them. But alas, Joe Biden did neither of those things. And now Joe Biden is claiming that he isn't going to make a trip anytime soon, claiming that he has already talked to people on Zoom? I don't know, just take a look at this video, it's pretty crazy.
Planning to travel to East Palestine,
This
Ohio?
moment not. I did a whole video, what the hell? On Zoom? Zoom.
So it looks like Joe Biden won't go down to East Palestine, which the mayor of East Palestine claimed was a slap in the face to him and the people of Ohio. That's why, in the end, showing up is important for former presidents, secretaries of transportation that were pressured into going, and even presidents going to foreign countries to show support for a country that is being attacked. However, not showing up for your own people in your own country could cause political consequences. Which is why I hope that Joe Biden changes his mind and visits East Palestine. But it may already be too late for Joe Biden. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.